There was a time in my life where I was having a lot of fun, I was exploring the world, doing things, and I enjoyed everything that I was doing, I was going to raves and doing what rave people do. If you know, you know. We were throwing parties at my house. I was playing video games. I would stay up till 3, 4 a.m. I was addicted to smoking a vape pen every single moment of every single day. And I was swiping through like Tinder and Bumble, you know the deal. But something felt off. And I was doing these things that gave me a lot of pleasure in the moment, but I felt off deep down. And I knew something was a little bit not what it should be, right? I wasn't doing what I should be doing. I felt kind of empty, even though I was having a good time. I wasn't happy deep down, but I kind of refused to actually do anything about it. And I could feel that all of these things that I was doing was accumulating in my life, and it was slowly ruining my life. And I could feel that if I kept doing everything that I was doing at the time, I wasn't going to go anywhere. So what I want to get into is how I was ruining my own life, the things that I was doing, and what exactly I did and the steps that I did to overcome that. And hopefully this applies to you. Maybe you're in a similar situation with your own life and you want to make a change. So the first thing that I did was choosing to ignore the addictions that I had. You might be aware of them, but you're still choosing to do them on a daily basis, right? You know it's bad for you, but you're like, you know what? Fuck it. Right, it feels good. I'm gonna keep doing it. Like, I knew that most of the things I was doing weren't good for me in the long run, right? And I'm not saying you should do everything in your day-to-day life, all your habits and everything has to be good for you, because that's a whole nother topic that I don't want to get into. But your whole day doesn't have to be super productive, but you can't have a completely terrible all bad habits day, you know what I mean? Like, most of the things that I was doing were bad for me, right? And they outweighed the good. Okay, so if you're in that boat, this is for you. I was addicted to nicotine for the longest time. I used to smoke a vape at work, in the car, in the house, just whenever, just take a puff, It took me a while to quit. It wasn't easy, but I chose to finally not ignore it anymore, right? Or I would go to raves or go to parties or go out with, friends and whatnot. And at the end of the night, I'm like, what did we even do? Like, what was the point of that? We got drunk. I ended up throwing up for like an hour outside. Like, that wasn't fun. That wasn't fun at all. Like, what? Do that again? No. I was playing video games till 3, 4 a.m. Sometimes the sun would be up while I was in the military, And I would be, lusting over girls on IG, freaking TikTok, or random Twitch streamers. So this step is kind of going to require a little bit of self-awareness, but you need to see yourself in third person, almost like you're watching a movie, and just sort of examine everything that you do on a day-to-day basis. You know what's bad for you. Like, it's not rocket science. You know what you should and shouldn't be doing. But there was a period where I was doing these things and I didn't realize that they were bad for me, right? I didn't have that awareness, because it felt good to do, right? All of these things, until I finally took some time and I was like, I don't even like doing these things. Like, why do I smoke? Why do I go out? Like, it's not even fun for me. Some of us aren't able to see that what we're doing is bad for us, because, like, you could do a bad thing and you could genuinely believe it's good for you, but that doesn't make it actually good for you. You know what I'm saying? Like when I would vape, I would believe it's good for me. I'm like, you know what? It's a little stress reliever. Boom. And that's how I justified smoking at the time, right? That doesn't mean it was good for me. My freaking lungs were dying for air. So this is the first step. You have to be honest with yourself. And this is probably the hardest step. The second thing I did was only doing things that felt good, right? There's a saying, and you've probably heard it before, but too much of a good thing is a bad thing. And I don't know where that's from, but it's somewhere. You can look it up, right? We can die from drinking too much water. You can work out too hard and die from exhaustion. Or you can have so much girls that are attracted to you that you don't even care anymore, You never only want to do things that are good for you. Like, I don't always eat a fat, delicious ribeye steak with mashed potatoes and cream spinach all the time. It's fucking delicious, right? But I don't want it every day, because if I had it every day, I'd be like, I'm tired of that shit. Give me some, like, McDonald's or something, I eat it in moderation because it makes me appreciate it even more. When we overindulge, when we seek pleasure, and that's the only thing that we seek, we're fucked. Like, this is kind of like what I was talking about earlier with vapes, right? We hit them because we feel good. Nicotine, smoking, same thing. Weed, it feels good to do it. And then later you're lethargic, you're lazy, and you're like, you know what? I didn't even do anything today. I just fucking laid around. That's not good for you. If we only did things that were good for us, we would look like the people in Wall-E, you know, that just like hover around on the cars and they don't even walk. They use the floating hover chair to walk. That's what we would look like. Like yesterday I ran 3 miles in fucking 90-degree heat, and I didn't want to do that, but I signed up for a marathon and I have to train, right? And if I don't do that and I run the marathon without training, I'm gonna die. So I'm looking out for future me by training now and sucking it up. Treat yourself in the future for your work in the present. Moving on to the third thing that I did to ruin my life is never taking accountability for anything. There's this idea from Jordan Peterson, author, philosopher, lecturer, and a lot of his audience is men who are facing some type of crisis, some identity, purpose, issues, okay? And Jordan Peterson has this pretty cool idea for men going through problems like this, and it's to bear responsibility.
Responsibility. That's what gives life meaning. It's like lift a load. Then you can tolerate yourself, right? Because look at, you're useless, easily hurt, easily killed. Why should you have any self-respect?
To make yourself accountable, right? To be responsible for your life. To make something of yourself, to lift a load, carry some weight, and not feel useless anymore. You have to be responsible for your own life. And it's like, even at the lowest level of what he's saying, it's like, even if you're a bum, quote unquote, you can still be a manager at, you know, McDonald's or something. You're still responsible for something. You can still carry some weight and handle things and make money, you know. You're still doing something, even if other people might see you as, you know, a bum. And for me, I used to walk around pretty angry at people for no real reason. I would just kind of blame like the outside world for when things went wrong. Like, if a girl didn't like me, I couldn't understand that I probably wasn't a great package for her at the time, you know what I mean? And I would be like, oh, why is she going for that guy when he's like XX whatever, when she'd go for me, right? And and looking back, I'm like, dude, we weren't that great of a package. And like, even if you're right, you know, you blame your family, your teachers, your friends, the government, the country that you live in for your problems. Even if you're 100% right and it is their fault, then what are we doing? You still have to take some type of responsibility for the situation that you're in. Fuck what everybody else thinks. Yeah, you have to live your own life, regardless of what other people think. So I want to talk more about that in the next step, which is not having a plan for your life. A lot of us coast through life. A lot of us don't have a plan, don't write out anything, don't think about anything. Or at least we don't think that far ahead when we should. Okay, I see this a lot with friends that I have from high school who are just kind of coasting in these, you know, not decent jobs. And it's like they're waiting for someone to come help them, right? And I remember having a conversation with someone and I was like, hey, it was the beginning of the year. And I was like, hey, what are your goals for the year, you know, because New Year's resolutions and stuff. And they were like, I don't really have any. And in my head, I was like, you don't have anything? You don't have like any ambition for the year. You don't plan, you don't want to accomplish anything. And like, yeah, I know, life is fine. And like, yeah, I'm kind of being, you know, mean and judgmental, but still, like, some people don't plan out anything for their lives, and that's why you end up the way that you do, right? They go to college because everybody else does it. They major in fucking, what does everybody major in now? Computer science, psychology, nursing, right? Because they're like, oh yeah, you know, sounds cool, I want to get into it. And you do it for like 4 or 5 years. You get your degree, you get a job, and you're like, you know what? I actually fucking hate this. So now what? If you would have gave it some thought, you would have saved yourself years of suffering and pain. And we coast way too long. I've known people who have been doing the exact same shit for the past like 5 to 6 years. So we need to dedicate some time to figure out exactly what we want to do. And I recommend, you know, journaling and actually sitting and thinking. It doesn't have to be super thought out. Like, even when I was in the Air Force, I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I got out, okay? But I knew I had to go to school for something at least. And I went, and I changed my trajectory along the way. That's perfectly fine. That's probably what you're going to do anyway. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, even when I was in high school, okay, I saw all my friends leaving. They're like, yeah, I'm going to college. And I'm like, shit, man, maybe I should go to college too. But my grades weren't that good, and I couldn't really afford going to like a state college or a university. So, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was like, that's going to be a complete waste of time and money. So I decided to join the Air Force, and I don't regret that at all. It set me up perfectly. I was able to learn new things, live on my own, and gain a lot of experience that these college kids didn't. And now it's really benefiting me. And now I'm working on getting a degree. You know, I'm in a physical therapist assistant program. Like, this is what I want to do. And it didn't happen quickly. You know, it took me years to figure this out. It's going to take some time, but you have the time anyway. So please, like, set some goals for yourself. I always like to set up at least 3 goals for the entire year. I have them put up on my wall, literally up in front of my desk, so I can see it every single day and remind myself of what that year is about. You know, put your sights on it, and if you decide that's not what you want to do, change your trajectory. That's fine. So I hope that helps. I kind of rambled a little bit, but don't ruin your life. Peace.